was scolded. The meeting is called to order. May we please have roll call?
Chair Wayne Richards,
Present.
Vice Chair DeAndre Poole,
Present.
Secretary Treasurer Blair Sickler,
Here.
Commissioner Jean Enright, Commissioner Varisa Laldas,
Present.
Executive Director Michael Meekins,
Here.
Borough Consul John Pomero, not present at the time. We have a quorum.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Meekins, do we have any additions, deletions, and/or reorganizations of today's agenda?
No, sir.
Thank you. Colleagues, we're to the approval of the agenda. Is there anything we wish to modify? If not, please make a motion. I motion approval.
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Approval of the minutes. I hope you've all had an opportunity to read the minutes. Is there a motion? Motion approval. I'll second that.
Second.
Thank you. Motion been made and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Mr. Meekins, are there any presentations today?
No, sir.
Any announcements?
No.
Okay, let's go to the consent agenda. Are there any items that we wish to pull or have a further discussion on the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Let the record reflect that General Counsel Pomero is present. Thank you. Motion been made and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. We just need to dim the lights. We can have a party.
Oh, disco, from years ago, disco, the black lights.
Okay. We'll proceed. The Executive Director's report. Mr. Director. Oh.
Sir, Commissioners, the cargo tonnage is slightly up over the budget. However, the TEUs and passengers shows a slight decline from the budget. We closed out January very nicely at about $870,000 ahead of budget.
Say that again. What was the number?
We closed out the budget about $870,000 ahead of budget for January.
Wow. Okay.
We're sitting pretty good.
Yeah.
The Western Rail is about 100% complete at this time. The final pay-app process is going on. The master plan, the research and review of the amendment and the comprehensive plan was presented at the Board of County Commissioners on March 28th and was approved on April 3rd. It then had another hearing just about a week ago, and that's passed now, so we are in the very final steps. The PID grant, we're still waiting on MIRAD to approve the rescope, which we're hoping to hit in about the next 2 weeks. And at that point, we'll start moving forward with phasing, project scoping, and design. All of that is kind of moving on the sideline now, so we'll be ready to hit the ground probably midsummer, early fall on the roadway stuff, and a lot earlier on the rail stuff. So we should have that project up and going. The dredging project, so I got a call about a half an hour ago, quite literally. Our dredge is currently in Jacksonville. It is taking care of a military issue up there. It is going to be delayed about 15 days. I'm told it was supposed to be here on the 22nd. I'm told now it'll be the 27th. It'll move out of Jacksonville and be down here on the 29th. Not news I wanted to hear, but it was not going for a use. It was going for a military use, so if you're going to have an excuse, that's probably the best one you got. So, just want to give you an update on the elevators. All the parts are on order. The delay time and the lag right now, we're looking at September timeframe to hopefully start getting those parts in, and then that project will move forward, and we'll be ripping apart all these elevators in this place. Employee evaluation process. A kickoff meeting will be held on Friday, April 5th. The evaluation process is to explain the process and the handout packets. The HR manager will be meeting with each one of the managers one-on-one next week to discuss the process further and ensure everyone understands how the process goes.
Have we done this in the recent past, to your knowledge? No. I'm very glad that you're doing this, that we're doing this.
Yeah, we are using this as a positive reinforcement tool for everybody. I think it's well-deserved, and I think it's going to help the port all the way around. So I think it's a good process to have every year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
So the IT department, just want to say they did a really good job here. I'm hoping the people in the back room can hear me pretty good. We originally got in quotes to upgrade the system that were over $20,000.
The Carrie's pointing to her ears.
Maintenance and IT worked very diligently, and they did the whole project for just over $4,000. So that was a pretty good win for us. For community events, we hosted a staff meeting for the Riviera Beach Police Department on Wednesday, and one of the nice things was they have a sergeant now that'll be on duty all the time, and I actually met him today, a very nice gentleman, and that's a bonus for us. That's a very good thing. The Port Bike Ride, the date has been set for April 27th at 9 a.m. on Palm Beach. We have invited all the port employees to meet at the Palm Beach Bicycle Trail Shop. The bike trail is just over 5 miles. If the event's a success, we plan to organize another bike ride for the entire port in March of 2025 to recognize Florida's Bike Month. Right now we have 12 people signed up, actually 13, including Commissioner Richards Ladas as well.
Okay, what about the other 3? Claire, can you ride a bike? No. Oh, my goodness.
I can write, but I'm committed. For that page.
I may be, so I'll accept. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
I'm very excited to attend.
Okay.
And Blair, I'll supply water if you attend the bike ride.
Not going. In the story.
The Director of Planning, Carl Baker, will provide a short presentation to a group of students from the U.S. Virgin Islands. The presentation is scheduled for Friday, April 26th at 2:30 p.m. Applications for the summer internship program closes on April 26th. As of today, we have 10 students signed up who have applied for the internship program. Usually we get them all like in the last week. Don't know why that is. If you have any questions, Yanni will be happy to answer those questions.
I have a comment. Right now we're at the middle part of our fiscal year.
Yes, sir.
Let's look at the budget for next meeting. We talked about that a few months ago. A couple months ago, we should probably do a reforecast. So we can put that on the next agenda, please.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. Yeah, we want full openness and disclosure.
Absolutely. So the events attended, Jeremy Ferenis and myself attended Sea Trade Global on the 10th at Miami Beach Convention Center. Keith Leggett and Al Fawcett attended the Florida Building and Engineer Facility Maintenance Show on April 17th in Tampa. They came back with a lot of good stuff, so that was, I think they were both highly impressed with what they learned over there. Again, Urediby will be attending the Governor's Hurricane Conference on April 2024, May 12th through May 17th at the Palm Beach County Convention Center. And that's going to be kind of like a train-the-trainer scenario. She's going to go out, and then we're going to get with each one of the departments and kind of break it all down. And that's my report.
Any questions or comments? All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Mr. Pinsky, welcome.
Port Commissioners Chairman, Port Commissioners, Richard Pinsky. Good to be back from Tallahassee. I did want to give just a quick rundown of what happened. I thought what we would do first is just remind everybody that the Florida legislature is different than what it used to be. And it's extremely partisan, not that that's necessarily an editorial comment, but it does dictate how a lot of funding and a lot of public policy is done. There's a 80 Republicans, 35 Democrats out of the 120 House members, and 28 Republicans and only 12 Democrats on the Senate side. There's not much bipartisan policy making that goes on. And it reflects really what's happening in Florida right now. For the first time this past year, Republican registration has exceeded Democrat registration in the state. It's crept up again as of the March election, almost by 1 million. The Democrats continue to lose. Interesting, the registration also went down for MPAs, but for other party registration, it rose. But the legislature is reflecting exactly what's happening in the state of Florida. The session this year was the early, what they call the early session. Next year, we start in March, which is the regular, and then, of course, we had the 6 committee weeks, and very active. Just to recap, there was a total 1,900 bills and resolutions that got filed. Only 325 actually passed. That's about 17%. Believe it or not, that's typical average. It bounces between 16 and 19% every year. So far, 102 of those bills have been approved by the governor. There's 28 sitting on his desk right now, awaiting. And then there are still another 181 bills that have not even gone to the governor. The budget is typically one of the last bills to go, so you can see that we still have a lot of work before the June 30 deadline. One of the bills that's sitting on his desk is the one that impacts the Port of Palm Beach, and that's House Bill 7013. That's the one that we've reported on and discussed. That's the Special Districts Bill. The governor does have 14 days. It was presented to him on April 16th. He has until May 1st to act. He is expected to sign the bill, but he can easily let it take effect without his signature. The bill has the 12-year term limit provision for the Port Commissioner. So this starts on the November election in 2024. So that's when the new clock will start. So any Port Commissioner that's up this November, they have a 12-year term limit imposed upon them. And for the commissioners that are up in 2026, that is when their 12-year clock begins. The bill also requires the port to establish and publish annual performance measures, and then OPAGA has been given authority to conduct performance reviews. So as far as establishing goals, this is actually what the bill says. It says beginning October 21st, that means this coming October, or by the end of the full fiscal year, which is the end of our fiscal year, whichever is later, each special district, meaning the port, must establish goals and objectives for each program and activity undertaken by the district, read here the port, as well as performance measures as standards to determine if the district's goals and objectives are being achieved. This is going to become a new annual exercise that I've talked to Port Director Meekins about, that you're going to be engaging in. The fewer goals, the easier it's going to be to achieve the goals. And we're not sure yet. We are monitoring the Department of Commerce. It is unclear whether the Department of Commerce will actually go through a rule promulgation on just what these performance measures and goals have to follow. It's what it is what you see right here, and that's in the bill. Then by December 1st, this is one of the issues that we worked on and got this amendment in. The original language had basically October 1st. So as soon as the fiscal year is over, you also had to publish it. So so after the fiscal year ends, we do have a 2-month period. By December 1st, each special district must publish an annual report on the district's website. So this means October, you have to, this coming October, you have to establish your goals, and then the following, December 2025, you'll be publishing the success and whether they were achieved on your website. So on the website, the goals and objectives achieved by the district, as well as the performance measures and standards used by the district to make this determination. So not only will you be outlining and describing what your goals, but you'll also have to institute performance measures to basically say, how do we know that you achieved them or not? And finally, any goal or objective the district failed to achieve. The other issue, I put this in here, only it doesn't pertain to the port. This is in the bill. It does pertain to the mosquito districts. It's also in the bill, but I thought this was interesting and worth noting. As you know, in our charter, we have a $200,000 cap. We have a $2 million and a $200,000 cap. What they've done for the mosquito districts, I thought was interesting, not for today, not for the future, but it is something to think about when we change our charter. They reduced it to $1 million, and they're saying the special district has to vote and has to go to referendum if it's more than 2 mils. If this language was eventually adopted into our own charter, and this being a guide, it would take care of that $200,000 cap. Not that we're ever going to levy a tax and do it, but I just thought I'd point that out. The other item that passed, and I'll take questions at the end if you want them on the special district bill. The other item, of course, with the ports funding, no change at all. There was an increase or decrease to the FSTED or any other infrastructure funding. Jack's Port was able to get $26 million in the budget for crane modernization. I know the ports are not supposed to go out and do their own thing, but every year they do. And Port Miami also got $75,000 in the budget for workforce assessments. Now, this is, of course, subject to the governor's budget review. Not directly for the port, but it is our property. In the budget is also $1 million for Peanut Island restoration. And there's also $1 million in the budget for the dredging of the ICW on the east side of Peanut Island, in between the inlet and the Blue Heron Bridge, where that's such a narrow build-up sandbar area. Again, everything's pending the governor, and be happy to answer any questions. But we had an interesting time in Tallahassee this year.
Any questions? Commissioner Enright.
So you're saying the report that each port has to generate is due by December of this year?
No, the goals and objectives and what's the criteria, what's the performance measures you're going to use to evaluate your success of those goals has to be done by October 1st.
So we need to start now.
The report that you then have to publish on your website will be due December 1st, 2025. So in other words, you start October 1, setting out your goals. You go throughout the year, you're working with your port director and the commission, achieving those goals. At the end of the fiscal year, September 30th, 2025, you then take a snapshot. How did we do according to those performance measures? And then by December, you've got to put that result on your website. I can see the wheels turning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Let's go to the commissioner reports. We'll start to my right, Commissioner Ladas.
So I had a wonderful meeting with Sheila Sherfilis McCormick's office and Executive Director Mike Meekins, wherein we spoke about providing some additional federal funding, hopefully to tackle the dredging issue that we're trying to secure resources for that. So that was a great meeting. And from our Executive Director, I also learned he met with Brian Mast's office yesterday. So hopefully everyone together, we can all accomplish this. And then I also, we have our BDB meeting later this month, and I look forward to apprising you next month of our updates there. I'm on the County Planning Commission. We had a vote regarding the port on that. I had to recuse myself, but from my understanding, that was unanimously passed, so I'm happy that they're working as a good partner for our port. And I'll be at the bike ride, so I look forward to seeing as many of you there as are possible that actually come.
Thank you, appreciate it.
No report at this time.
Commissioner Sickler? And nothing here. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it. Thank you, one person. Okay. All right, let's go to old business, please. I-1, litigation update, Port of Palm Beach versus Teeters and Mott.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just the executive director and I are involved in settlement negotiations, which at this point are confidential, but we're working towards the goal of, number one, clearing the Teeters property, and we're hopeful that we'll be able to make some progress in that regard.
Okay, thank you.
And we can brief commissioners individually on the details of those negotiations if you wish.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, if you have an interest, please contact Mr. Fumero. I think we all probably have done it. I know I have. Okay, thank you. All right.
Thank you for your efforts, Council.
Okay, I-2. I will be abstaining from I-2, but please proceed.
Okay. We have a suggestion action. Berth 1 Palm Beach LLC entered the entity which is the tenant in the existence of Berth 1 lease agreement with the port has submitted a request for the commission to consider a Fourth Amendment to the Berth 1 Palm Beach. We're looking for a consideration of the Fourth Amendment to Berth Palm Beach LLC lease agreement and consideration of the purchase of the sale of 100% of the membership interest in the Berth 1 Palm Beach LLC, Berth 1, to RBY LLC, which is a subsidiary of Safe Harbor Marinas.
Okay. Is that the entire presentation?
That's the entire presentation. We have Eric here from Safe Harbors, if you want to speak with him as well.
Good motion to put on the floor.
Is there a second? All right, I did want to ask Mr. Fumero. So we have a motion and a second. You have a comment, Mr. Fumero?
Yeah, I just want to, there's a typo that I just want to be clear on the record. There's a memorandum of lease agreement. So if the board were to vote affirmatively here, this memorandum of lease agreement would be recorded in the public records, but it mentions Indian River County, so just for the record, it's clear to be Palm Beach County. And also, just so that we're clear, in addition to the revision to section 8.04, there's also an additional section that indicates that the company and its employees, agents, representatives, licensees, invitees have a non-exclusive right in common with other tenants to use the roadways and sidewalks. They wanted a clarification that is not problematic at all, but just wanted to make it clear that that is a new provision. And also in terms of the renewal provision, so the end of the current lease period would be extended to March 31st, 2027. Presently, it would expire in December 31st of 2023, if I got that right.
That's correct.
And so just again, and then after March 31st of 2037, the parties could agree on one additional term of 5 years, but that is subject to agreement of the parties.
Would you just explain the nature of the relationship now, of the contractual? Would you explain the nature of the contractual agreement now? And I should have called you, but
Yeah.
in other words, what is the current agreement, please?
Thank you.
In other words, who are the parties? What's the term? The key points.
Sure.
Michael, you can jump in, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we changed on this one was the original agreement had 2 terms on it.
2 extensions?
2 extensions, and they were at their, whether they wanted to do it or not. The port didn't have a say in it. One of the things we changed with this agreement is that when we come to the extension period of 15 years, it's now mutual.
Did they
So
agree to
we
that?
have to agree upon, yes, they have agreed to that as well. This is a Part A and a Part B as well. So if you approve Part A, then Part B is the representatives of Berth 1 and SMH have jointly requested that the Port Commission consider the purchase of the sale for 100% membership interest in Berth 1 Palm Beach to RBI LLC. So they're just selling that lease that they have. Some minor adjustments back and forth as far as the mutual agreements, but other than that, the agreement as a whole pretty much stays the same.
I have a question.
Okay, thank you. Give me a moment. So, John, what you can explain, so this is an agreement of how many years currently?
So currently, it would end on December 31st of 2023.
And there are extensions for how many? There are 2 extensions up to what period?
Yeah, I think that's yeah, thank you. So the initial term was a 10-year base term, so
Right.
that would have taken us to March 31st of 2032.
Okay.
And then 2 5
And
years.
then 2 5-year renewal options.
And we're
which
locked in, that's a current agreement.
That's current
Through
agreement.
2032, and they have 5 additional extensions.
which would have taken us,
To
again,
2042.
at their discretion, correct. March
Under the
31st.
original.
And you're able to make what change regarding to the term?
So we went with an initial term of 15 years, and then at that point, the mutual agreement upon the extension.
Okay, all right. I have a question or comments from Commissioner Enright.
I guess we just need, I'm kind of confused, okay? My understanding now, I guess we need to go step by step. There is an agreement between Berth 1 and the Port of Palm Beach.
That's correct.
And the current contract says that they cannot transfer their lease to anyone. It has to come back to us. Is that correct? Am I correct on this? That
Correct.
they do
They
not
cannot
own.
assign-
They can't assign.
Right, they
Correct.
cannot assign their lease because what happened before, it was Kevin, whoever had the lease, and then he went on and signed someone else with him. So now they have a lease with the Port of Palm Beach because Berth 1 has sold their property, has sold to another company, I guess, whoever, Safe Harbor. Safe Harbor is now asking them to transfer the lease to them. Am I correct?
That's
and
correct.
They're asking the port, who has a contract with them, hey, let us give the lease to someone.
Yeah,
John,
if I
John,
may.
clean it up.
I
yes.
guess my question is,
Well, that's
Well, let me
confusing.
explain what exactly is going on. So, the RB, what's it called? RBY LLC is purchasing 100% of the membership interest in Berth 1.
Right.
So on the face of things, the tenant will remain Berth 1.
Right.
However, in the existing lease, there is a provision having to do with the sale of control of a company. Okay, and that provision is in section 8.04. That's what's being amended here because it was, frankly, it was an older lease and it had a bit of
Crazy,
a
yeah.
protracted way of doing things. So this is being clarified. So now, what's before you today, it says that in no event shall transfer or issuance of any interest
Right.
in any entity whose ownership is traded through a nationally recognized exchange, or, as the case here, or in any subsidiary of such entity. So would be a public company traded on an exchange. In this case, that's Safe Harbor, but RBY LLC is the entity purchasing the membership interest in Berth 1. And, normally it would be kind of invisible because the tenant remains the same, but because of the provision we have, that sale,
Do we use that provision today?
yes.
Do we use that
That's
same
why it's
provision?
before you today.
right, I have
Because
a question.
it's being triggered. Because even though the tenant remains the same, there's a change in
controlling
the...
interest.
Exactly.
The faces are changing.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Enright.
I have a question. Since the port has control of that lease, so in essence, in their contract, they cannot transfer the lease. They sold their company. So the port has to say. So in essence, they're asking us to change their contract to allow them to transfer that, our investment, the port slip to them. Am I correct? I guess my question is, why would the port not want to control our own destiny. The big question is, if Berth 1 wants to keep it, let them keep it. But to transfer it, it's like, hey, I would like to see it, now this is only my opinion, I really don't know, I don't know anything about no safe harbor, but the bottom line is, I would like to see it put out for competition out on the street. That's just my opinion.
No,
but anyway.
Mr. Murray.
Because I don't understand why. Because things change, finances change, money change. We need to, this is only my opinion, commissioners have to decide, why would we give up our rights now and just allow a tenant to transfer their lease? It appeared that the port needs to come back and say, hey, let's take a good look at this. And then maybe if we put it out for competitive bids, if they are the ones who end up with it, fine with me. But it does not seem right that we come back because the tenant is asked to transfer it to someone that we do it and it's not in the lease. That's only my opinion. That's my opinion.
If we do not approve this, can we put this out to bid?
No.
No.
As we said, because Berth 1, the existing ownership of Berth 1 has, as we said, until 2032, their initial base term, plus 2 5-year renewal options. So Berth 1, its current ownership of the membership interest, can continue this lease until 2042.
Okay. All right. And in this case, an entity is looking to acquire their interest.
Yeah.
And reduce the length of the term to a small degree, to some degree.
Yes.
Okay. I just want to make sure we all understand what's happening.
Yeah.
I have a
any
question.
Okay, please.
Just a simple
Any
one.
other comments? We'll go around.
I've spoken to Berth 1. There's simply just another entity is acquiring this. I think that there's a misunderstanding or miscommunication to the extent individuals would not be supportive of this. And I've spoken to Berth 1. They are supportive, and I want to thank you in your efforts with also negotiating terms with them that that both parties found mutually beneficial.
Commissioner Poole, any questions or comments?
I'm thinking. The 15, explain that to me again.
So the terms of the agreement, the original agreement, had them in control. The current agreement had them in control of the berth until 2040.
42 if they
42.
exercise the renewal
And
option.
so what we did is the one thing that we saw that needed to be changed here is when it came time for the options, we needed to have a say on whether we wanted to keep them here or not. I felt like that was too long of a time period with the original agreement. I think staff agreed with me to have some sort of control mechanism to say, hey, this is working out or this isn't working out. They needed a certain amount of timeline, obviously, because they're making a very large purchase in purchasing the agreement. So that's how we came to terms on making the agreement and saying, yes, we would have the option on the terms.
I'm confused on the terms.
Okay, we're going to go around.
Okay, go around.
So originally Berth 1 had until 2042, but under this contract they have until 2032.
Correct.
Okay.
And then at that point, it's the decision on whether we want to continue that lease or whether we want to put it out to bid. It's got to be mutual.
Okay. So, okay.
Correct, John?
Yes, I know we all have short memories, but not too long ago, that was sitting out there and there was no revenue, nothing coming in. I think we had Rybovich came in once in a while with a ship, and at the time we finally negotiated a pretty good deal. I don't know offhand what the amount of money that we're guaranteed a year, but I'd be interested in what the minimum is at least.
So I would say, we're ballpark right now about $450,000 a year. We also have a line items within there on the docks that are put in that we get additional for linear foot. So the advantage I see to Safe Harbor over Berth 1 is they're worldwide. Their connections are a lot better. I think they're going to do a little bit of a better job with filling those berths now, and I think that'll bring a monetary gain for us.
Right, and one other thing is that, this is basically a business decision. I mean, we want to keep the revenue going, and I think with the new entity, I think if anything, it's going to increase.
Yes.
We all saw at the last meeting, the ship that was out there was like, the largest privately owned yacht I've ever seen.
It was
And
pretty
it's-
nice.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, this is a business decision, and I think it's actually an upgrade by getting RBY. I just think we'll make more money.
Yes.
So it makes perfect sense to me.
I have a question.
Yeah, give me one. I'm not going to vote, but I will, and I can opine. Simple business decision. We're locked into 2042 with a very good company now. This allows us to go to another entity that's even stronger and bigger and has a very large presence, yachting presence in the county, and we get to reduce the term, the term, so that in 10 years prior to the current term, we can say, hey, you want more money, quite frankly, this is what we're going for. You know that, okay? So, in my mind, it's a business decision. Are we going to have one or two more comments?
I guess I want to get these terms right. That's
Yes.
what I was trying to find out. Okay, so now you're saying the existing contract takes us to 2032? Mr. Romero?
2042.
42.
40, well,
And
there's a
then-
10-year base period, which ends March 31st, 2032, and then the lessee has 2 5-year renewal options, which, if exercised, would take them to March 31st, 2042.
Okay, now, you said they reworked the contract to be what? What are the new things?
So the way the lease is written today, a change in control and ownership of the lessee triggers it having to be approved by the commission. That's why it's before you today. If they were able to assign it or change the control or ownership of the lessee, then they would have done it. But the lease today does not allow for that. So it must be presented to you for approval. That's why it's
Okay,
here
that's
today,
not my
because it's a
question.
change in ownership.
I guess the question is, I asked about the years. You were saying that this new contract, if it is approved, would be totally different. They could only go, 10 years, and then we can decide to let them go or not, or what? What are the new terms?
So as it goes through, and Dakaria, come on. So as we go through this portion of this new lease, we have our 10-year period, and then, I'm sorry.
Okay, so we're saying 20.
So I'm sorry, initial is 15-year period,
Okay,
and then
so
a
you're-
5-year option.
Okay,
And the
so-
5-year option is ours. Is that correct?
So you're saying,
So to
with
the
this
year
new
of-
contract, they have 15 years, and when the 15 years are up, then we make the decision,
Mutual.
so they have to agree.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, both parties must agree. So in other words, the renewal options that are existing today in the latest amendment, it's up to the lessee. They decide whether or not.
And they have
want
2
to.
extension periods.
Right, 2 5-year extensions.
So
This
they will,
extension period requires both parties to agree.
okay, so they will go 15 years, and after the end of the 15 years, then we will sit at the table, and then we'll make a decision together if we should continue.
That's correct.
And then if we say yay, suppose they say no, or we say yay and they say no, or
Both
whatever.
have to say yes.
We both have to come up to something.
We do.
Then the 15, then after that, we have another 5 years. Okay, let's go back. In this 15 years, what about the finances? Did we increase there? Since you're talking, this is literally, you're talking about a whole new ballgame now, because you're not dealing with the lease up to 2032. We have 15 years. What is it for the port in the 15 years as far as increase in revenue and as far as our increase in monies?
So there are
because
two-
we need to
Yes,
know what's out
absolutely.
there. And because they're a worldwide company, we need to make sure that they're going to give us what's out there, what other people are getting. What are we getting?
So we have a annual that kicks in every year at 3%, and then we have the additional docks. So as they fill those additional docks, we get paid per linear foot on whatever vessels they bring in. So the ability was before where we had berth 1 was generally one vessel. With the additional docks, they can bring up to 4 different vessels, depending on the size, give or take, either 3 large or 2 large, or however you want to word it. But we get additional money every time we get those additional vessels in.
Okay, did we increase anything with this new?
No, we didn't increase the original lease or anything of that nature. That's part of what they were acquiring when they were doing their purchase. When they came to us, what we did is we said, I can't agree to the terms that are out here correct today, because it was too length of a time out before we got the ability to come back and say, hey, we want to keep doing this or we don't.
I guess my question is, if they move to another area, I want to make sure that the port is getting the funds, that we're not being, you know what I'm saying, we're a little tiny.
I don't understand.
I want to
the
make
question.
sure
You
that
see,
across the board, the going rate that we're getting, what they would, if they wanted to lease that particular property, because it's prime property, somewhere else. So we've done the legwork. As far as
The base
finances?
agreement that they're purchasing the lease on. So, and Eric, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the base agreement that they're buying the lease on is the assumption that the lease agreement between the port and them stays the same monetarily. So that was part of their purchase. They went to their banks and said, we're going to take out this much money. They needed this much of an initial term, and that's when we said, we're okay with that, but we'll do the mutual terms differently. Mutual terms have to be agreeable. So the base agreement is the same. We put in the additional linear footage for the additional vessels when we started the whole additional dock process. So we feel like there'll be some additional funds coming from that area that we didn't have before.
Well, I
So-
think that,
so what would-
I think that
that's the
has to be
point.
because there are many more docks that have been underutilized.
Yes.
And obviously Safe Harbor has a better opportunity to fully utilize them, which means the revenues will go up much more.
That's the thought process.
Of course. All right, let's go. Any
So
more-
you're looking at the
any guys-
revenue to be what?
Please.
I just want to know.
I have-
So
one-
right now, the base revenue, I
Michael.
apologize.
Guys,
I have one quick comment. I just wanted to commend Mr. Executive Director Meekins and Council Fumero for always being so accessible to us when we, prior to these meetings, to go through the agenda in great detail so that we can answer questions and we know exactly which business decisions are profitable prior to attending the meeting. Thank you.
Can you finish the meat and potatoes, the money part? That's all I want to hear.
Okay, go ahead.
That's all I want.
So the base is still the base. The base is still $450,000 as the annual rent. The rest of it is a variable, and it depends on how many vessels they bring to fill up those other docks. We do make money off fueling as well, so if they bring more vessels, we'll make more money off of the fueling side of it as well.
Do we have a requirement for the amount or the number they have to bring in?
So the minimum, well, they have to pay the rent price, and it's
Right,
a
we know
straight-out
that.
rent price of $450,000. Everything on top of that is a caveat.
And that's a
It's in-
month?
Yeah, no, that's a year, $450,000 a year. And it's in their best interest to bring as many vessels as possible. That's their profit margin.
All right, Commissioner Poole, any questions? Jim, back.
I do have some thoughts. Just piggyback on what Commissioner Sickland said. From a business move, you know, I see that, and I think that's in my mind that is enough for me. I do think that, as Commissioner Enright was pointing out, ensuring that we also benefit. And in my conversations with Mr. Meekins, I do want to go with the recommendations of staff. I think that you did the work. So you two gentlemen are getting paid to do your job. Okay, I'll leave it
Hold
at
on
that.
now.
But
Takari is there.
and yes, and ma'am, and Takari Anderson. What's the other part of your last name? Jones. Okay, as well. So that gives me peace in taking this vote, and you know, I may not be here in that time period, but we'll see.
Blair, anything else?
No, I think the big money for us, hopefully, and for the new RBY is increased yachts. That's the whole thing. I mean, they're going to bring in a lot more yachts. We're going to make a lot more money. I mean, this is a simple business decision, and it's all great for us because we can make a lot of money on this.
We're going to have Commissioner Enright have the last comments on this.
I just want to know, in the agreement, is there any way we can put a requirement on what they bring in, or a minimum?
Well, we do. We
Like
have
we
a
did this
minimum
year.
now, that $450,000.
I know we have the base 450,
Right.
but I just would feel real comfortable if we had, just like the ship. The ship has to have a minimum of passengers. Is there
Is
in the
450 the minimum?
It's the minimum for the lease itself,
lease.
for the area, the operating agreement. Like I said, the additional money we make is on the floating docks and then the fueling. The more ships they bring, the more we get per linear foot, and also for the fueling process.
and there's no requirement on that?
Yeah, there's a certain amount of cents per fuel, per gallon, and then the linear foot, we're paid per linear foot as well.
But they don't have to meet a cap to ensure
No, they
that
don't
we
have to
get
meet a
over
cap.
450. I want us to have a little bit more money. They're a national company. I mean, let's get real.
Oh, but it's going to come in, though, don't forget. I mean, I guess if 0 ships come in, if it sits there vacant, we'll get 450.
Yeah.
But every time we get a ship, we get paid by the linear foot.
Right.
Every time. Well, that's
And
And,
just
you,
as
and
a-
you anticipate how many?
So just as a comfort level, and again, I've been looking out the window now for about a year, and there's been almost months or very long periods of time where nothing has been out there. And it's been worrisome because of that. Since the time frame that Safe Harbor started working and started moving ships in here, it's actually been very busy. So that's a good sign of things to come, I think.
They have a very large facility to the south, obviously.
They do, and I believe they have the connections worldwide to make the most out of the facility that is out there today.
All right, we're going to call the question. Everyone's talked a lot of good questions. Everybody had an opportunity. We're going to public. I'm glad I remember. Ms. Shepherd, you have a card, and Mr. Jackson, in that order, please. I'm glad I remember before we vote. Welcome, Ms. Margaret Shepherd.
Thank you, Mr. Richards. I'm kind of confused, really. You guys are going back and forth. You are not really, and I think that being on the dais, as long as I have been, when we're talking, I don't think you should be butting in, because when you're butting in, you throw the public off a little bit. So I ask you just to refrain from that. And a lot of times I have to make sure in planning and zoning that the chair listens to what I have to say, because as Dr. Enright keep going, and then you're butting in, then she's coming back. It starts the confusion. But let me go back to Rybovich. I don't know if Mr. Penske is still. Yes. But Mr. Richards, now I'm getting there now. Saturday I'll be 78 years old, but I'm getting there. Weren't you the attorney for Rybovich at one time? Yeah.
Did you hear that I'm not voting?
So what?
I'm not voting.
Oh, okay.
You missed that.
I did. Well, I told you. What did I just
We still
say?
love you.
Oh, okay. But it seems like you're putting more into it than them. If I'm refraining from voting, I don't think I would just carry the conversation like you're carrying, because then it makes me feel uncomfortable that you're in bed with Rybovich. I have nothing against you, Mr. Penske or Rybovich. But I think if you're going to do it right, do it right. We're talking about 100% membership. I was listening to the attorney. He said does not go out to bid. And my question is, why is it not going out to bid? When things like this come to the city, I'm quite taken aback, because it appears that we're forever giving things away. And I feel uncomfortable, because I feel like, yes, you're going to make money, of course. But the city of Riviera Beach has been known to just give things away, and I don't think this is appropriate. I think that it should go out to bid, whether you do it or not. It's just a very uncomfortable feeling. Thank you.
Jeffrey Jackson, welcome.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Jackson. They're here in Riviera Beach. So when I read 1-2, if you look at A, I just thought that it left a little bit to be desired. It would not really give you all the information you would have. Well, at least it didn't give me, and I think the public would not know exactly what you're talking about. But since sitting back down here, you go through it, I understand it now. But I will say that if I had a piece of property, if I had a house and I had it leased to someone, if I had a lease for the past 10 years and that lease went ended for any reason, and I had an opportunity to have a new lease nowadays, I think that might bring on some new negotiations. So, but you guys will determine that. But I would certainly be looking for some new negotiations and see if I could strengthen my position. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Fumero, I'm going to ask you a question. Are we able to put this out to bid at this time?
Not if Berth 1 wishes to continue with the lease. They have the right to continue with the lease
All right,
until.
thank you.
Yeah.
We'll call the question.
May I ask just one question?
Of course.
You said that if Berth 1, so in essence what you're saying is that since Berth 1 has control of the lease, if they want to transfer it, we would have to approve it for them to transfer. And if we voted no, we don't want them to transfer it, then what happens is Berth 1 gets to keep the lease agreement the way it is until when? 2030?
42.
2042?
42.
Right.
And then they get to keep the lease agreement, and we will be tied into them getting the $450 a year for now until 2042.
That's right. If
And
they
I guess
exercise
the
option.
the new deal would say that they can just go to 2000.
37.
37? How do you get to 37?
Right. So,
The new deal, they can just go 10 years.
so the initial term is 15 years, and then there's a
15.
5-year option. That's mutual.
May I ask this one other question? 15 years is a long time. I don't think any of us would be here because we already have a moratorium for 12 years. My thing is, I would like to see the port a little bit more control. Can we go down with the years, go back and renegotiate the years a little, and give us a couple more dollars?
Can we call a question? I think we've had endless
agree. Yes.
discussion, and I'd like the question to be called, please.
So let me ask you this. Thank you. Does staff, Mr. Meekins, is staff comfortable and is asking us to approve this?
I'm sorry, could you
Is
repeat?
staff asking us to approve this?
Yes, sir. Both A and B.
Thank you. The motion was, who made the motion, please?
I did, from A and
Did that
B.
include A and B?
Correct.
Did the second include A and B? Who made the
Yes.
second?
Yes, I second.
Thank you. Please call the question. That's me.
Staff.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions, 1. Motion carries 4-0-1. I-3.
In I-3, this is a suggested action. It is recommended that the Port of Palm Beach District Commissioners award the invitation to bid number 2024-02, slip number 2, trench drain repair. Invitation to bid number 2024-02, the lowest responsive and responsible bidder, Gonzalez and Sons Equipment, for the amount not to exceed $208,558.
Is there a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and properly seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously 5-0. All right. New business, please. J1.
The suggested item is the Port of Palm Beach District Commission is respectfully requesting to waive procurement and competition, and to authorize the executive director to enter in negotiations with Nathan Yeager, Garrison Harris, and Fumero to establish terms and conditions for the Port Attorney Legal Services. That agreement runs out in September. We're just getting ahead of it, and so the information we put out there is the background. On where we stand, it would be a 3-year agreement, but just like me, it's an at-will agreement. At any point the port was not happy with the port attorney, you can move forward with getting a new port attorney.
Now, for the public's benefit, and I know the answer, we're talking about this, why can we not simply extend the agreement as we have done in other agreements? I think we're happy with the council.
Yeah.
Why can't we just extend it?
I don't either. Attorneys are exempt from the.
Like I said, you could extend it. It's a 30-day at any point.
Commissioner Enright.
Mr. Chairman, it doesn't make any difference what we do if we agree to let him stay
I don't
because
like the word waive.
because in 30 days he's at will.
I think, yes,
So in
you are
essence-
correct.
You can make it for 100 years.
Right,
You can
it wouldn't
for
make
1
a
year.
difference. It doesn't make a
It
difference.
doesn't
at all.
matter.
Waive, that's all.
Doesn't.
It doesn't make a difference.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
All right, is there a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
All right, I guess we're going to keep you. Motion been made and
For a
seconded.
bit,
All those in
thank you.
favor say aye.
At least for 30 days.
At least for 30 days. That's written notice, by the way. 30 days written
At
notice.
least for 30
Oh, my goodness, I think Gene's giving you notice. All right, motion carries unanimously. Thank
I'm
you.
just kidding. You know that.
All right, J2.
Staff respectfully request the Port of Palm Beach Commissioners to authorize the issuance of a request for proposal to acquire the services of a professional realtor. It is the further request that staff be given the authorization to finalize evaluation of submitted proposals and make award recommendations to the executive director. Subsequently, the ex-executive director be granted the authorization to execute agreements or agreement with the recommended realtor or realtors.
Finally, is there a motion? Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and probably seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None motion carries unanimously. All right, let's go to J3, grant funding.
Carl's usually the good news guy, so.
Mr. Baker, he brings the good news.
Commissioners, good afternoon. Carl Baker, Director of Planning. We're here for an FDOT grant funding consideration of a PTGA for the purchase of a locomotive and the adoption of the corresponding resolution. I'm asking for a motion to approve the PTGA with the Florida Department of Transportation in the amount of $500,000 and the adoption of the corresponding resolution 2024-06. We currently have a very good locomotive. There's nothing wrong with it, except that it's about 30 years old, and anything mechanical can break. Right now, Florida East Coast Railroad has changed their policy. They don't have spare locomotives to rent out. If you're going to have an emergency with FEC, they want 2 weeks' notice of that emergency. Exactly.
In the past, we've used their spare.
Exactly,
locomotives.
but now they have no spare locomotives unless you give them 2 weeks' notice of your emergency. And as I'm sure we could have Tropical Shipping tell you, if our locomotive breaks and anything mechanical that's can break, and Tropical, and we can't bring in rail for a week until it gets repaired, and I throw the number out, week as a round number, it's going to wreak havoc on Tropical Shipping. Plus, we're hoping that with this PIDP grant we're doing and all the extra rail, Tropical has said that they intend on bringing more rail in, more containers in by rail, therefore leading to more work for the locomotive we have.
Very good. Commissioner Sickman.
Do you have any idea where you might purchase this locomotive?
They're out there.
Are they? Yeah.
Yes. Trade a locomotive,
Okay.
Like trade a plane or,
Yes.
Our current locomotive, Al Fawcett found it in the locomotive yellow pages. It was up in Athens, Georgia.
Right.
Now, the company has got another location that's in Jacksonville right now, and that's where they're going to start. And for obvious reasons, we would like to buy a locomotive that is as similar as possible to the locomotive we have, so for parts interchangeability, et cetera.
Sounds like a plan.
But I think a commissioner should be assigned to bring it down from Jacksonville. You won't say who. I don't know. All right.
Sir, as soon as you get your railroad engineer's license.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
I'll do it. Have we made a motion yet?
No, sir.
Is there a
So
motion?
moved.
Motion made and probably seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Baker. All right, we have comments from the public. I have three. We'll do Fred James first. And Mr. James, I didn't see you. I know you had a presentation, but I didn't see you in the back. So please come forward. We'll give you 3 minutes. Welcome.
Good evening, afternoon, everybody, the commission, the board, staff. My name is Frederick James. I am the CEO and president of United Hands for Global Impact. We are a special purpose entity specializing in financing public.
Let's reset. Sorry. Okay. All right, we can reset that. All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No worries.
He's making it speed.
No worries. My name is Frederick James. I'm the president, CEO and president of United Hands for Global Impact. We are a public-private partnership financing vehicle that issue bonds on behalf of municipal and private development projects. Our objective is to capitalize on the interest, the tax-exempt interest that we finance from private development projects and public partners, and use those dollars to help fund public development projects. We also double as an opportunity zone fund, so we have access to private dollars that we offer our investors those tax-exempt returns, ultimately helping you find the money to fund your public development needs. In most urban communities right now, there's a lot of development happening, and our organization creates the voice for those residents living in those communities to be included in the benefits for investing their dollars in projects like water treatment plants, city halls, police and fire stations, but also some of our workforce housing needs. And this program allows us to partner with municipal partners who are looking to fund these types of projects in a way that they do not have to impose increases on their residents. But if they do, we lobby at the state and federal level for those dollars to be represented as investments so they can be incentivized like our private development partners for investing their dollars in those projects. For a project like the port, we know that you all are wanting to build a parking garage. And so under this particular partnership, there's a substantial, you all can issue bonds yourself, but if you do so, it would ultimately be a cost and revenue that you end up losing over that 30-year term. If we issue the bond on your behalf, ultimately raising these dollars on your behalf, you become an equity partner in those dollars, and those savings are reinvested into a different port project. This also gives you an opportunity to have dollars, ROIs, return on investments, received from projects that are outside the port, being that we are a vehicle that finances projects throughout the county and state. This is another way that you can add more revenue into your operation budget by being an investor in our 501c3 community development vehicle. And that's all.
Okay. Have you done this before?
Our partners are building Nautilus 220 Phase 2 is a 4-acre hotel and marina redevelopment project where we will be financing that through this vehicle, along with several other development projects that are tied to that developer. Also, we just made a presentation to the city of South Bay to be their Opportunity Zone fund so that we can benefit, help the city find financing or raise capital to fund their development needs as well.
All right, well, thank you for that. We have a bond expert to my left.
Yeah, I was saying the timing's good. Our financial officer's coming back May 1st or 15th. So I would think that you could connect with our director when he comes in, sit down with them. I mean, there's
You guys can talk the bond.
yeah, there's quite a few different projects. I don't know if they're all port-worthy, but some might be. So, I think it's definitely worth your time to spend an hour with him when he gets back on board. He's a smart guy, and I think it maybe benefit both of us.
Yes.
Thank you for that. Thank you for your presentation.
Definitely. Thank you.
Mr. Meekins, he's our executive director, and he can give you information.
I'll speak to it, Brad.
All right, thank you. I appreciate that. Roderick Clark, then Margaret Shepard, then Mary Brand, please. Welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Roderick Clark. and I'm running for the Port of Palm Beach Group 3. I just have a public announcement. I was recently invited to speak to some local possible voters, and I was told by a good source that a commissioner on this port doesn't want me to go back there because allegedly I didn't say I'm a Republican, which I am, and I'm proud to be a Republican. I would just want to put this out there. I did make the governor office aware that a commissioner was going behind the backs of us good people. I'm a 25-year veteran of the Marine Corps. The reason we're sitting here is because men like me and women went to die so that we can be in this spot of freedom. So it is my right to run, and I will run, and it's my right to win by the grace of God. So if that commissioner continues, I will be talking personally with the governor and make him quite aware of that. And I will be on the ballot in November, and my plan is to win. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Margaret Shepherd, please.
Margaret Shepherd, Revere Beach. Welcome to the real world, Mr. Clark. Welcome to the real world.
Been there.
Welcome. Good to see you. I've heard a lot about you. So.
My dear, I'm wanting to.
Ms. Shepherd, please address the board.
This is to Dr. Enright. That was a wonderful event. Just to see my old friends, the black elected officials, and the Democratic Party. I enjoyed myself seeing my good buddies, and this has really been mind-boggling to hear some things that I've heard at the port. I've always had a great respect for the port, but I'm seeing a lot of things that I just dislike. The Port of Palm Beach has always been a prestigious entity, and it's given me a great concern. We're even allowing people to come in here that we don't even know. My thing is, have you a resume? My thing is, have you volunteered in the city where the people in the city of Riviera Beach get to know you? I've been there 45 years, volunteering, 17 years with the Planning and Zoning Board. So it's the opportunity to run, but my thing is, what have you done? And I'll leave it like that. I didn't mean to go that way, Mr. Richards, but I think it's just important that we understand where we're at. When I first come here a few years ago, Ms. Liz Wade sent me here, and that's where my training began. It comes as a training. And then she saw Dr. Enright, who taught me the value of knowing how to get out there and get the vote. That is the most important thing, of learning who and where your city is and how things are moving. I would like to see my city move forward. And we're at a place now that anybody could come run and nobody know who they are. And so I appreciate you, Dr. Enright. I hope you do it again, because we need to see. I saw Bill Wilkins there, and another Mr. Davis, and of course Addie Green, and all the people that brought me over. And nobody gave me nothing. Everything I got, I earned it because I did what they asked me to do. That's why my name is so prevalent. I don't have to go up against nobody. If I want to run, I run. I don't. I choose to make sure people get a chance to run and make sure that the city, not only the city of Riviera Beach, but for the Port of Palm Beach. Right now, we're in dire need of good leadership. And right now, it's a struggle. Thank you.
Thank you for your opinion, Ms. Shepherd. Mary Bram, please, is the final public comment. Mary Bram. Welcome, Ms. Bram.
Hi, Ms. Bram.
Good evening to the chair and to the remaining boards and to the faithful. The faithful. I call them our customers too as well. I would just like to say that, first of all, I'm a little tired. I've been up ever since early this morning. And I thank the chairperson, I thank the director, I thank Mr. Carl Baker and the others, because Ms. Brown was over here early this morning. And I want to thank the chair and your boss here for what you all will do to help we as residents in this city. You have told me, and I know that you're going to do it. And I enjoyed the tour and where I had to go at. So I want to put that on the record, that I say thanks, and all of my residents that had that same concern, they say thank you too. Thank you very much.
I'm going to give a little bit of sorry, I thought you were finished. I apologize. Please continue. Okay.
And Mr. Penske, I see you over there too. I want to give you a shout out too. You continue that with the gambling for these young people, because this is where we at also too. So, and I know that you're involved in trying to detour that. I saw that profile, and I understand it. So you continue there. The summer internship program that you all will do this summer, that is so worthwhile. Your commissioner, Marissa Das.
Veressa. Like Marissa with a V.
Veressa. She has studied, been pushing that for this port here. Because I'm sure that she understands it too, that our avenues will be the future of tomorrow as well as today, to get these young people, to get these young adults engaged. So she comes over there, and not just over there, she be everywhere, because Ms. Bram is also everywhere. So when I have to get up early in the morning, I'm going, because that's what we do in order to make things happen. So I want to say thank you for doing what you do. And all of the others, whatever they may do, I would like to thank you all. And I say, and I'm not going to be long, I'm finished. Thank you. I always say from my heart, and I'm going to give you all a big kiss. Okay?
Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Bram.
you.
So a little bit of context. Ms. Bram and Ms. Doretha Perry, they're concerned. It's springtime, and there have been swarms of termites in the city. And there's a concern that some of it might be coming from the port. So Ms. Bram called me yesterday afternoon, and we immediately agreed to take a tour of the port to look for areas that might be causing the concern. My interpretation, the port was actually very clean, but we found one area where there were some old timbers that could be harboring some of the termites. So the port's going to take care of that immediately, and we're also going to have Nozzle Nolan do an inspection of the port. But if the residents of the city have a concern, we're going to address it aggressively. Yes. We're not going to hide. We're a public entity. We are your servants, and we have the power of government to remedy things within our control. So we're embracing it, and we're going to do a full review. So thank you for that.
And that's what I like. That's what I like.
Thank you so much, Ms.
Thank
Brown.
you.
All right. Comments from the Port of Palm Beach Commission. We're going to start with Commissioner Enright to my left. Blair, DeAndre, Larissa.
No, this was a very efficient, well-run meeting, as always, and thank you for being so accessible. I just want to reiterate, thank you for always being so accessible to us before meetings to go through the agenda items and how they benefit our port. Thank you.
Thank you. I have nothing further. I've spoken enough. Our next meeting is Thursday, May 16th at 4 p.m. Is there a motion to adjourn? So we're adjourned. Thank you.